What's up, Facebook family? This is the day the Lord has made. We get to rejoice and be glad about it. Listen, I was just being reminded of a thing called hope, and how people, it seems, I keep hearing how it seems like, what we're going through is hopeless. And hopelessness is a real bad place to be. That's Hopelessness is never the place that you want to be, in at any time, and certainly in times like these. You don't want to deal with hopelessness. But there was a story in Mark chapter 5 where there's a lady who felt like hope was evading her, and hope defined as a feeling or expectation for a certain thing to happen. That's, it can be defined, and you can, it's a feeling of trust and hope. There's many definitions, but that's the working definition. It's a feeling, a hope of a certain thing to happen. So this lady in Mark chapter 5 is sick, and she's been sick for 12 years. And the Bible said that she had gone to doctor after doctor. And even though she had gone to doctor after doctor, she, instead of getting better, she only got worse. The more money she spent and the more time that she invested, it just seemed like her condition got worse and worse. It couldn't seem, it just didn't seem to get any better. And I don't know about you, but when I look around at this corona, and how every day there are new people, people who are getting a little closer to home, people who I know a little bit more personally, a little more intimately, who are getting sick, and who are dying, and it seems like it's just getting worse before it's getting better. And I was tempted to just say, man, this is hopeless. But then I was reminded that no, it's not hopeless. It's not hopeless. And here's what I'm reminded of, because in that story, that woman who got sick, in the midst of facing her hopelessness, she got word that the Christ of hope was coming by. And when he got to town, you know what she did? She bypassed all of the procedures. She was not supposed to be in the crowd. She was supposed to be isolated. She was supposed to have a stay-at-home order. She was supposed to not be. She could not be with the crowd, but the Christ of hope was coming through, and she went and she threw herself at his feet. That she crawled through the crowd, that she may just touch just the hem of his garment, just trying to get to the hem of his garment. And she touched his hem, and Jesus asked an amazing but strange question after she did it. He stopped and he said, "Who touched me?" Who touched me? I mean, imagine that question, because the disciples, knew that he was in a crowd, like everybody was touching him, right? He was like, what do you mean, who touched you? Like, I touched you. He touched you. Like, you're in a crowd. Like, we all touching you. What are you asking? Like, what do you mean, who touched you? He said, no, somebody touched me, and virtue left my body. I felt that somebody just touched me, and it just made a difference in their life. Let me pause right there. Everybody's touching me, but somebody touched me, and it made a difference in their life. I promise I'm gonna come back to that. I can't just leave that there. But let me just say this. So what happens is, a woman, embarrassed and feeling like, she didn't deserve to be blessed, and feeling embarrassed about her blessing, she came for the crowd, and she was like, listen, I touched you, and Jesus did something in front of everybody that restored her hope. He said, daughter, your faith has healed you. He said, go. He said, your faith has healed you. Go and be free from your suffering. That's what he said. He said, listen, your faith has healed you. Go and be free from this suffering. Now here's the lesson, because everybody, she's right. The disciples were right. Everybody was touching him. But somebody touched him, and it meant something to them. Let me just tell you, it's time out in this day and age for having these casual encounters, these casual touches with our Christ. It's time to touch him in a way that means something to you and to him. Because what happens is we always come into church. We always doing this. What do you mean? I was at church last week. So I was at this. I came to Bible study last week. So, but in that time when you were at church, in that moment of worship, in that moment of Bible study, did it change you? did did God's word touch your heart in a way that changed how your perspective? Because so many times, and here's where it is, so many times we're having these encounters with Christ, but they're not changing us. Virtue's not leaving, and we're not even tugging on the power of Christ. We're in his presence, but we ain't touching him. We're in his presence, but not tapping into his power. This woman's hope was restored because she tapped into the power of Christ, the hope that Christ brings. Let me just tell you something. In this day and this age, I don't care how hopeless it seems, we need to make sure that we touch and tap into the power of the Christ of hope. And that way, no matter how hopeless it seems, no matter how bad it seems, no matter how far it seems, that we can trust and we can know that we have touched the heart of Christ, and that our faith can help us to experience the healing, not just the physical healing, but the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, even the financial healing. We're going to have to touch into the power of Christ because he's the only one who can heal us through this time. Listen, fam, I love you. Good to see you, TT, Broderick, Tanya, Steph, Tyrone, Desiree, Matthew. Good to see you. I love y'all. And until next time, friends, peace.